of a dramatic turn. They didn't feel dramatic enough. Hang on. Welcome to an... Oh, no. Hang on. Let's move that roundabout. Here we go. This is it. This is the one. Welcome to episode 20. Is it 20? Episode 20, season 5. Should have said that the other way too. Stace and Barry in the morning, having some fun and drinking Prosecco. That's. I don't even know why I don't prep. Why don't I prep, Stace? I should at least have assumed that I might have to do an intro and then maybe just write something down, maybe more than one sentence that rhymes.
I think it's charming of us to be so ill prepared at this point.
Do you?
Yeah.
Okay. If you think it's charming, I'll roll with it. Thousands may disagree. My cat side-eye me like, was that it?
Do we have thousands of listeners?
I've got 2 cats.
Fair.
Both side-eyeing me. How are you, Stace?
I'm all right. I had a little realization not long before we started chatting earlier that made me feel positively ancient. Right? Do you want to hear about it?
Go on then.
Oh gosh. So somebody on Threads was all like, "Hey, put your hand up if you've been podcasting for more than 3 years or something," and I was like, "Ha, hold my beer." And then I realised that in fact I've been podcasting for a whole drinking age person in the UK. As of when we hit October this year, I'll have been podcasting in some form for 18 years. And I was like, but that can't be right because I'm only 24 and I didn't start podcasting when I was 6. But as it turns out, I'm not 24, am I? And now I just feel I positively crumbled into dust.
Well, I mean, I'm trying to think. I didn't realise. So we started in 2006.
Yeah.
So that's
19 years. Yeah.
19 years. So next year we've been doing it for 20 years. Is that what you're saying?
Oh my God, yeah, you have to throw a party and can I come? Please let me come. Why can't I come?
God, that went to shit fast.
That's just me, pure, terror at not being included in fun things.
I'll tell you what, if someone out there wants to throw a Geek Syndicate 20th anniversary party and I don't have to do anything except rock up, fully boots. Just don't even tell me that you're doing it. Just tell me to come to a location. I turn up and it's just boom.
Party.
Yeah, party.
What do you remember what month your first episode came out?
I believe it was either September or the 1st of October.
Okay. September's a good time for a party, she says, because that's when her birthday is.
Okay.
She's not being cheeky at all. Yeah, I'm 40 this year. Can you imagine that?
You're 40 this year?
I'm 40 this year, yeah.
You don't look 40.
I'm getting old. Well, that's all the fat that smooths out the wrinkles, she said.
Wow, my beauty tip is be fat.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. Hey.
Black works for me, so.
That's
right.
You know
what? I bought Prosecco today, and I had it delivered because when you have Prosecco, it has to be delivered because that's how I roll now. Of the upper echelons of club. When the guy turned up, I had to give my date of birth. So I gave my date of birth, and he looked me up and down, and he went "You certainly don't look like you were born in 1969." And I thought, "Why, thank you, delivery guy. Thank you."
Doff your cap to him because I would have probably.
I'm still not going to tip you, but thank you.
Do you want to hear the stupidest thing I've ever been ID'd for?
Go on.
A pair of craft scissors.
Wow.
At the age of 27, I was buying a pair of scissors at WH Smith, and she said, "Have you got a D for these?" And I just went, "Scissors," because I was just like, "Scissors? What?" And she was like, "Well, you can do quite a lot of harm to yourself with scissors." And I was like, I'm 27. I shouldn't be trusted around scissors, to be fair, but I am legally allowed to use them, I think. Woo! What a weird thing to get. ID'd for in a WH, but it did make me feel good about myself because I was pushing 30 at that time, and I was like, oh, let me just get my ID out, and then felt smug about it
good madam.
all day, just riding that high for a good week.
I feel that I'm drinking Prosecco that I should do a reboot of Bridgerton called Nugentton.
I've never seen Bridgerton.
Me neither.
That episode of Doctor Who was super lost on me.
I've only seen trailers of it anyway. Anywho, I just realised we've been rambling for like, I don't know, at least 6 minutes and haven't talked anything remotely geeky until you said Doctor Who. Well done, you.
Well done, me, yeah. Shall I bust out some trumpeting?
Bust it.
Jazz. Hey, let's do. I was going to say pick of the fortnight, but it's been about 3 years since we last recorded.
I know. Pick of our lifetime.
Pick of 2025. Why is there a ninja looking at me?
Ninja.
I don't like it. It's stressing me out a little bit. Barry.
This episode is sponsored by Ninja.
This episode is brought to you by the letter P for Prosecco. What's your pick of the 2025? Have we done an episode this year? Happy New Year?
Yes. Yes.
No, we must have done. It's March, isn't it?
I'm sure we have. I'm not going to go and check because I trust in our I trust in us and our skills.
Pick of the right now. Go on.
Yes. Yeah. So my he says moving to get his notes together. Bear with. So this is it's a show. I was going to do that. Right, I was doing. Give us
do a bit of charades on an audio medium.
Charades. Yeah. So this show was on Disney Plus. 8 episodes, and I love it, which is why it's my pick. It's called Paradise. Have you heard of this?
Oh, mate, I've watched it.
Wait. Did you enjoy it?
I don't know.
I love
it. So here's the thing, right? No, go on. You talk about it because you're excited, and I don't want to.
Well, I'm worried now.
Don't want to piss on your parade.
Because now I'm like, I'd rather you start with pissing on my parade than I can bring it up.
Okay. Well, I don't know how spoilery I want to be either. So here's the thing.
Spoilery.
Don't be too spoilery.
Don't be spoilery.
Okay. So here's the thing, right? I think Sterling K. Brown is genuinely phenomenal. Love the guy. I've got a massive crush on James Marsden. I think he's adorable, so I enjoy seeing him in things. But the central conceit of this first series was much less interesting to me than the general circumstance. I'm being so vague.
That's really well done. Stop there.
Okay.
There. That's really well done. Well done, you.
Cheers, man.
I could sound more patronising if I tried. I loved it. I absolutely loved it. Mm-hmm. A couple of people have said that to me. I didn't have a problem with that because I feel like how they dealt with both. You kind of needed both for what what they were doing. Mm-hmm. But I'm dancing around it, so I'm going to try and give people an idea. So Sterling K. Brown plays a Secret Service agent called Xavier Collins, and James Marsden plays the president. This is a kind of I won't say that. So basically, there's a murder, and Xavier kind of has to sort of solve the murder. Mm-hmm. And this is done through his investigation, but there's also like a load of flashbacks as well to what's happened before and then what's going on in present day. And obviously, as Stace indicated to you beautifully, there is a much larger story going on around this, I guess, smaller story, which is murder. Sorry?
Murder mystery.
Mystery. Yeah, there's a much sort of larger sort of concept around it. But for me, I think what I loved about it was I was watching the first episode and I was really enjoying it because the acting was phenomenal. So the guy who created this is the same guy who did This Is Us, which I've never seen. Sue loves it. It was like her favourite show. And she loves sort of Sterling K. Brown. And so you watching the first episode, I think I was so engrossed in like the acting and the drama of it, the way it was shot, the music, everything was on point, to the point that I kind of got inkling something else was going on, but wasn't quite 100% sure. I was nearly there. My writer brain was like going overtime. And then it got to the end and I was like, oh, Jesus.
So, again, avoiding spoilers, here's two things I will say. I am very excited for what they've set up for season 2. Do we know if it has a season 2? I really hope so.
It does have a season 2.
Brilliant. Yeah, I'm really excited by the prospect of what that story is. And also, I think episode 7 might be one of the best episodes of TV that I've ever seen in my life.
God, yes.
Because it's so well written, it's so fucking tight, and it is tense as shit. Like I was like, and even though that episode was technically a flashback, so you sort of know where everything's going, it was still like so compelling and gripping, and you were like entirely like, oh God, how do they go from here? That episode was just like, yeah, absolutely phenomenal. I think it was just the murder mystery part didn't work for me, which is a shame because that was a large chunk of this season.
I think so much of that is, I thought the plot was great, but I think so much of that show is character.
Yes, yeah, absolutely.
So even when you actually see, again, it's a mild spoiler, but even when you kind of see the actual murder itself take place right at the end and you kind of realize what's going on, it's such a heartbreaking scene that it kind of gave weight to the whole plot as far as I was concerned.
Yeah.
But I think one of the great things it did is so many shows do flashbacks and handle them badly because the whole in many ways, the clues in the title, you kind of flashbacks, and in some ways you're jumping, be it the reader, be it the viewer, back, so that can sort of slow down the plot. But I think in this one, all of the flashbacks worked because they informed what was going on in present day, and they made the characters more sort of rounded people as well.
I think one of the things that really worked for me was Sterling K. Brown and James Marsden's chemistry together.
Yeah.
Because those two are just absolute fire. Like, whenever they're talking to each other, I was just like, oh, I could watch these two, just like read a phone book.
And I think as a writer watching it, and there's only a handful of shows that do it for me, where you watch a show and you hear the dialogue and you just go, I wish I could write like that. I wish I could write dialogue like that. It's like a masterclass in dialogue that I have to then sort of go back and whether or not you like the show, I can't think what it's called now. Scandal is another one of those shows where, it doesn't matter whether you like the show or not. It's just the dialogue is so good. You're there with a notebook going, but also the music is phenomenal. But the way they used like music that we know. And gave it a little spin and blah. And can I just say, even though like episode 7, like I completely agree, one of the best episodes of TV, the end of the end of episode 5, where they used, I'm not going to say any more than the fact they used "Eye of the Tiger," I was applauding. Like, I must have watched that scene about 100 times.
Yeah. And
I would want to say to people, like, when I talk about the use of music, go watch that scene. Because that's how you do it right. So yes, Paradise is my pick, and I rather enjoyed it.
Excellent, I'm gonna have to like watch season 2 though when Rich isn't around, because he thought it was shit, which I was like, oh. We got halfway through episode 6, I think, and he was just like, "Do you want to watch this anymore?" I was like, "Yeah." Actually, and he was like, "But it's so stupid." I was like, "You're stupid." Welcome to my married life. Hey, so my pick of the fortnight, I almost picked Severance again because this show blows anything I've ever seen in my life out of the water. So just put that on a pedestal on top of another pedestal, but then forget about it because I'm going to do something else, because I can't just keep saying Severance every time that we record, even though it is good. So mine is a little film called Heart Eyes. Have you heard of this?
Hard eyes.
Heart, as in.
Oh.
Yeah.
No. I mean, I hadn't heard of
my
hard
boob,
eyes.
so that was going to help. Okay. Well, Heart Eyes is a rom-com slasher film.
Oh.
And oh my god, it's so good. So it's directed by a guy called Josh Ruben, who is somebody that I know from, you know how I've banged on a lot about the Dropout streaming service that does oh my god, what's that like Dungeons and Dragons-y type show that they do? Anyway.
Oh yeah, but I do remember you telling me about it.
Yeah, and they do like a lot of like comedy shows. It used to be a different website.
It used to be College Humour, and then it.
Yes, thank you.
I pay attention. I listen to every word you say, Stace.
So I know the director from there, and I follow him on all of his socials. And when he was banging on about, I've got a film coming out, Heart Eyes, and I was like, oh, that sounds all right, doesn't it? So one day, Rich and I headed over to the cinema and we had a little watch, and I was so pleasantly surprised. It was brilliant. The story of this film is that there is a serial killer that kills couples on Valentine's Day every year. And so the film follows like two people who aren't actually even a couple, who get mistaken for a couple by this serial killer and targeted by him. And what I really, really loved about it was that it was very clear to me that Josh and the rest of the team, like the writers and everything, not only really like horrors and slasher movies, but also very clearly like rom-coms as well.
Right.
Because it could so easily have leaned into mocking territory on the rom-com side, but it was actually very sort of like respectful of rom-coms. So it was genuinely quite romantic and genuinely very funny,
right.
And were filled with gory murders. And I was like, well, this is just fabulous, isn't it? Like, isn't that good? You've got laughs, you've got love, you've got people getting stabbed. Like, what more could you want? I absolutely loved it. And one of the things I will say about it as well, because I think it needs to be said, is that from the trailer, you could easily think that this is just a sort of gimmicky slasher movie where they're like, I actually think one of my friends, it might have been Lee Grice, when we saw the trailer for it before I knew that it was by Josh Ruben, that he was like, this feels like one of those characters where they've had the idea of a mask with hearts for eyes and just tried to work backwards from there.
Right.
And so I was a bit worried that it was just going to be just sort of like a gimmicky shit horror, but it's actually also super well made. So there's like a sequence that takes place in like an abandoned botanical gardens. And first of all, I just want to say chef's kiss to whoever did the lighting for that film, because I've got a huge bugbear at the moment for a lot of movies and TV that have nighttime sequences that are badly lit so you can't see shit.
Yeah, there's a lot of that now.
There's an awful lot of that now. I don't know why I don't know why it is, but this film has like that fantastic sequence where you can actually you can tell that it is very definitely nighttime, but you can actually see everything that's happening. And then there's a wonderful bit where like an old carousel comes on, so there's these like warm, glowy lights on that against like the blue cold lighting of the rest of the cinematography there is just like absolutely gorgeous. And so like, yeah, I think I need people to know that this is like actually a genuinely very good film. It's not just like, what if we had like a murderer that had hearts for eyes? And I had an absolutely brilliant time with it. I thought it was fantastic.
Okay.
There you go.
That's not hasn't come to streaming yet or anything, has it?
I don't think so, but I imagine it probably wouldn't be very long before it does.
Okay.
But yeah, I will say, if you're not a big fan of rom-coms, it might not be for you, because the rom-commy parts are very rom-commy. I think there was an interview with the director where he said something along the lines of the fact that they wanted to make sure that all of the romance bits were very Nora Ephron and all of the horror bits were very Wes Craven. And I think you can definitely feel the sort of like Ephron / Scream of it all. But yeah, I absolutely loved it. Thought it was tippity top notch.
Cool.
Yeah. Also, it's got Devon Sawyer in it, who, like, you know, baby Stace, when she first saw Final Destination, what a chokehold that movie had on her.
Okay.
So there you go. Shall I break out some more trumpets?
Yeah, I think so.
All right. Jazz. Musical music?
Why the devil not?
Why the devil not? Barry, what's been in your ears of late?
Fair bits here and there, actually. But with no real surprise, the piece of music I've picked is from Paradise.
Shocker. Absolute shocker.
I know. Who could have guessed it? I couldn't. Well, actually, I could have done if I'd bothered to read my notes. So I've picked the opening track, which is called Welcome to Paradise, which is by Siddhartha Khosla. Apologies.
I'm not going to write that down. I'm going to look it up later.
I did actually look up how to pronounce it and pronounce his name, and I think I've still done an awful job. But what I love about this piece of music is they use it constantly throughout the show. It's like a recurring theme, and it's anthemic, but it almost sounds a bit techno-y as well, and a bit synthy and a bit futuristic. I was going to say something which would have kind of given the game away, so I kind of
whacking great spoilers.
Yeah. Wah, wah. Yeah, it's a lovely piece of music, very kind of chilled piece of music. It's the sort of thing you could have in the background whilst you're working, which I have done because I've listened to the soundtrack. Yeah, so that is my pick, and I want to give an honourable mention to I don't have the name of the person actually, but it's the remix they use for Eye of the Tiger, because it isn't like the Survivor one that we all know from like Rocky 3. It's like a different take on it, and the start of it is very kind of orchestral, very kind of like on a movie. It's a very kind of big, and then it goes into the Eye of the Tiger, but even the way they do that, and then it goes really techno-y as well. Yeah, brilliant use of music. In fact, I'm going to say again, brilliant use of music. Well done, you people.
Well done, Paradise Music supervisors.
Yes. Praise for those people.
In it, though, I sort of suspect that some of those remixes that are in the... because they usually come toward the end of an episode, don't they? I sort of suspect that some of those might be part of the reason why Rich didn't like Paradise, because he's got a real thing about what he calls sad girl versions of popular songs.
Oh, okay.
He's like, when you've got a car advertisement and for some reason it's got a girl on a piano singing No Limit by Two Unlimited, and you're like, what's this for? That's a real thing, by the way. There's a sad piano version of No Limit. And he's like, what the fuck? And he gets really cross about it. So I wonder if that's partly why he's just being a grumpole about...
I mean, it probably, or it probably, there's probably other reasons, but that probably didn't help.
Yeah. Anywho, my musical musing is a bit of a weird one, actually, because I'm a slightly weird person. I was having a conversation on Threads the other day about video game music, because I was lamenting the fact that I really wanted to get the TMNT NES soundtrack on vinyl, but it's like £100, and that's too much money to spend on a record. Even if I wasn't, even if I had a spare £100, like that's no. So I was talking about video game music with a few different people, and somebody reminded me of the theme to the Flying Battery Zone from Sonic 3 and Knuckles. Sonic and Knuckles, Sonic 3, whichever one you want to call it. Which is the level that's like sort of takes place in the air on what looks like an aircraft carrier, but in the air rather than at sea, which is a bit weird. It's an absolute banger of a song. And then I realised that there was like a slightly updated, like jazzier version of it on the Sonic Mania soundtrack that was done by T. Lopes, who I think I've talked about before when I was talking about the Shredder's Revenge soundtrack a while ago. Yeah. So my pick is Flying Battery Zone from Sonic Mania by T. Lopes. It is an absolute grade A chip-tune banger. Yeah.
I'm trying to know, as you were saying it, I'm trying to think, did I ever get as far as Sonic 3? Because I definitely played the first 2 Sonic games because I had a Sega Mega Drive.
Mega Drive, yeah.
Sega. I definitely remember it because I fell in love with Tails.
Same.
In Sonic 2.
I love Tails.
Normally, when you bring another character that Scrappy Doo, I've got no time for. But Tails, yeah, he breaks that trend.
Mm-hmm.
And the dude at the biplane. It's all
man.
Good.
Even though he can already fly with his own tails, but don't worry about it, it's fine.
Which just seemed even more gangster. It's like, yeah, I can fly the tail, but I want a biplane.
Yeah.
Get him a biplane.
Sometimes I want to rest my tails.
Yeah. Don't we all? But Sonic 3, because I don't remember a great deal about Knuckles. That's why I'm not sure if I ever played it or not.
I always found Knuckles really strange because even though it doesn't make sense that a 2-tailed fox could fly with his tails, it made less sense to me that echidnas can glide, which is what Knuckles' main mechanic was, is that you'd jump and then you would glide around like, those squirrels that have like bat wings.
Oh, yeah.
like kind of like one of them, but I don't think echidnas do that, although hedgehogs don't run at super speed, so what am I talking about? Why I'm looking for realism in Sonic and Knuckles. I think I actually played Sonic 2 and Sonic 3 more than I did the first one. Okay. I don't know why. I think 2 was because I was obsessed with Tails. Like, as soon as Tails was in my life, I was like, well, this is my guy. It's my guy, isn't it?
Yeah.
But yeah, Sonic 3 was really enjoyable, but it is like absolutely more of the same Sonic stuff with an echidna that glides.
And also, on a sort of, I know we've gone into a whole kind of Sonic scenario now, but like, I have to say, after watching I haven't seen the third sort of film.
Oh, you've got to.
After watching the second film, I'm like, and I can't remember, Tails didn't talk in the game, did he?
Not well. So none of them did really until what game was it? One of the more recent ones. Like there was a good like 6 or 7 games before any of them.
None of the games I played did he talk, and yet when I heard him talk in Sonic 2, I'm like, that's exactly how I would have imagined Tails would talk. So I'm just like, I want to go, brilliant. I was going to say brilliant casting. It wasn't casting. You designed him with a computer, but whoever you got to, the guy, whoever's doing the voice of Tails, nailed it.
Colleen O'Shaughnessy, I think, is how you pronounce her name. Yeah. But she's actually the person who does the voice of Tails in the games, in most of the games now.
Oh, okay.
She's wonderful. She's so talented. It's ridiculous. I think the casting of Idris Elba as Knuckles is probably one of the best bits of casting that I've ever seen in my life, to be honest. But yes, anyway. Flying Battery Zone. Pop that in your ears. You'll have a good time. Have we got time for another very quick segment, do you think? Yeah,
if you want to do you want to do a quick...
A quick Stacey's Book Corner?
Yeah.
Okay. Jazz. I am in the middle of my charity bookworm challenge yet again. If you would like to sponsor me, go to justgiving.com/page/bookworm tales. That's TAILS. That is a nickname I was trying to get to take off, but nobody will call me Tails.
I'll bear that in mind.
My surname's Taylor. It makes so much sense. Anyway, the first book that I read in my bookworm challenge this time around was called Maybe I Don't Belong Here, and it's by the actor David Harewood.
I saw you, but because Sue's read that. Yeah.
So David Harewood plays Martian Manhunter. It all played Martian Manhunter in CW, Supergirl, and a bunch of like a shit ton of like IMDb him. I'll be here all day. But he's somebody I've always thought was really, really great, and he always seems like a really sound dude on like all the socials and the interviews and stuff. So I picked up his book because he's also a fellow Brummie, and I was like, what better way to start a Birmingham-related charity event than with a book by a fellow Brummie? And I was not expecting what I got, and it really sort of kicked me in the fanny. So I did not know that Mr. Harewood had a sort of episode of psychosis in his early 20s and been sectioned. And a large part of this book obviously is about that and how that came to happen. And he talks a lot about the sort of intersection of I hate to use the term identity crisis because it's a DC Comics thing, isn't it? But he sort of had one in the sense of like he was struggling to keep together his sort of black identity versus his English identity versus his, clean slate actor, I can do anything, be anyone sort of identity. And oh my God, what a book, man. Like, it's so well written. And what I love about it is there are times sometimes when I'll read like an autobiography or something where it will feel like the person is talking down to you. I don't know if you've ever found that with someone. Like, they feel like, because I'm writing a book, I've got to be proper and write a book.
Yeah.
Whereas this book just feels like the most raw and honest and open thing. So even when he's talking about stuff that isn't particularly important, just like, I don't know, like the process of auditioning for things, like he sounds like a regular, normal guy that you could just chat down the pub with, which is my sort of personal favourite style of autobiography writing, because I don't want to feel like you're belittling me even though I'm interested in you.
Yeah.
If that makes sense. And I think the fact that the book is so like raw and messy, and he's so unafraid of just being like, yeah, this is what happened to me. Like, I can't say I enjoyed it because a lot of it is quite difficult to read, not just from a sort of racism point of view, but also from a holy shit, our institutions are not really set up for good mental health care. I mean, we've come a bit of a way since when he was sectioned, but we're still not in a great place in terms of mental health care for people. So it is a difficult read in some places, but so I can't say I enjoyed it, but it was a really good book.
Yeah.
Is what I would say. It's definitely worth a read if you are somebody who enjoys A, reading, and B, reading about people like David Harewood. But don't read it if you don't like swearing. But if you don't like swearing, what the fuck are you doing listening to Stace Barry?
Love segue.
So yeah, that was my Stacey's book corner for this episode. Yeah, give it a whirl, see how you feel. Job done.
Yeah, as I said, Sue read it and she said a lot of similar things that you said. I'm not really one for autobiographies, and looking at some of the subject matter, I've got my own sort of.
Yeah, that's fair.
I just it's not often my sort of go-to, but I have watched some interviews with him, and I think he did like a little documentary thing, and I think I did watch that and was good. But what was in my wheelhouse was he did. You've heard of a show called World's Dangerous Roads, Most Dangerous Roads? Yeah. So basically, it's a show called World's Most Dangerous Roads. I think that's what it's called. And two celebs drive. It's all these different roads around the world that apparently are ridiculously dangerous and die and blah blah. And it's two celebs that drive the route, whatever it is, and then they talk on the way and whatever. Given the fact you've read David Harewood, I would suggest you go and find the episode that he does with his mate.
Yeah.
For two reasons. One, because it's really good because it's him and you get a bit more insight into him and his friend. Two, the minute I finished watching it, and as Sue and I watched it all the way through, we were saying this, I rang Dave and said, you need to watch this, because if me and you ever did World's Most Dangerous Roads, we would be exactly like him and his mate were in it. It was like me and Dave were doing it. It was so funny. And it was really funny. And then they had really heart-filled conversations because his mate is an actor, and they kind of got into it as well about stuff and being black as well, and within the creative industry, which again is something both Dave and I could relate to and stuff. So a lot of the things that were being said was conversations that Dave and I have had sort of privately, and it was just hella funny. Driving at night, and it's kind of no, we need to get off this road because we're in the middle of a forest. All stuff that Dave and I would have done. I want to say it's season 5. I'm not sure, but it'd be easy enough to find. If you search for him online with it, you'll find the episode.
Oh, I'll definitely check that out, because that is one thing I didn't say actually, is that when it's not being quite heavy, it's a really funny book as well. I don't think I realised he was very funny.
I know,
and I don't know what.
I think
I think it's the roles he does, and also like the scattered handful of interviews I've seen him in. He's very like well spoken and like eloquent and stuff. So you don't see that like playful side of him as much, I don't think. But I enjoyed that about the book, and it genuinely surprised me when I first found out he was a Brummie, because I would never have guessed from like his accent or anything.
Yeah.
Got rid of that bad boy real fast, eh? Scrap that, lads. Scrap it. But yeah, I'll definitely check that out again, because I've got like, I think he's a really sound dude, and I would happily watch more things with him in now. So he's one of those guys though that as well I've found, because when I was reading the book, there's obviously quite a lot of stories as well about his time on different sets or auditions or interviews or whatever, and there's so many things that I didn't realise that I've seen him in and just not realised it was him, because I just believed he was that character so much, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
That like now, I think now that I'm more aware of him as a dude, if I went back and watched, I'd be like, yes, of course. but yeah, well worth a read, I reckon, and I'll definitely give that. I'll try and find that episode of Terrifying Roads to Drive Upon.
World's most dangerous roads.
As if I'm not scared enough of driving as it is. Right, we have been talking for a really long time. Hey, listeners, thanks for having a listen to that. If you want to do a talk to us, send an email to staceandbarry@gmail.com, or follow us on most of the social medias at Geek Syndicate and at Stacey's Parlour. I am not on Twitter anymore, though, so don't follow me there, because it would be pointless.
I think I'm still on Twitter or X, but I mean, I don't really do much on there.
Yeah, I kept my account just because I didn't want anybody to steal my name and post heinous things. But not that anybody would, because nobody knows who I am. But you know what I mean? I'm just being careful. But I don't post anything on there anymore because, Nazis, innit? On that note, hey, we love you. Thanks for listening. And eventually we'll figure out how to say goodbye without all of this awkward preamble. Bye.
Bye all.
Love you. That'll do, won't it?